having issues as a foreigners living in Japan, and one of them is punctuality. Actually, this is something that I learned last week, and it was quite eye-opening. It appears when we are talking with Japanese people and arrange a meeting time, and most time they arrive earlier and we arrive for them maybe late, or sometimes we think we arrive on time and we find maybe Japanese are frustrated. Actually, there's a reason. And the reason is when you are arranging the time, in your head, you are thinking you are going to meet at, let's say, 10 a.m., all right, in the morning. So for you, that's a meeting time. So when you are talking with a Japanese person and you're negotiating the time, in your head, you are preparing yourself, we will meet at 10 a.m. and then go somewhere or do something. With a Japanese person, it's a bit tricky because they think if you are going to meet at 10 a.m., you should be there maybe 10 or 15 minutes earlier, if possible. And if the opposite side doesn't come a bit earlier, they think you are a bit late. And I was thinking, why it does happen? What's the problem? Why us foreigners, most time, even though we arrive on time, it's kind of late. And with Japanese, they come earlier. And I was talking with some Japanese people, figured out that when you go to a theater, let's say the play starts at 10 a.m., but it doesn't mean you get into the theater at 10 a.m., right? So you arrive earlier, do everything that you should do, and then find your place and sit and wait when the play will start. Actually, this is the same situation with the meeting with a date with Japanese people. So when you are talking about meeting time, actually in your head it's a meeting time, in Japanese person's head it's an opening time. So like in a theater. So it means if it is 10 a.m., you have to be there 10 minutes earlier to prepare, to kind of maybe have some ice-breaking part, so that the real stuff that you're going to do will start from that time. So next time when you're arranging a meeting with a Japanese person, think in your head that you are going not on, let's say, 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. or any time you want to meet together, but 10 minutes earlier. So you set your time 10 minutes earlier before the meeting. So 10 a.m., go there at 9:50. Be there at 9:50, not at 10 a.m. And it will help you to fix your problem. The Japanese will kind of appreciate it that you are being in the meeting on time based on their understanding. So I understood it last week. I'm here in Japan almost for 7 years, and it was quite interesting that I didn't get the point up until now. And I'm happy to share it with you. So try to use it. Next time, you're not late to the meeting because you know what's going on. So go on time. 10 minutes earlier. Another thing I want to talk today is about the cultural difference. There are several points I could talk, but I will talk the ones that I kind of miss a lot, that I have in my country, maybe you also have in your country, and you don't see it in Japan. One of the things is, when you sneeze, in my country, you will all the time hear, God bless you or bless you. And in Japan, they don't say it. That was quite interesting because for the first 1.5 years of my life in Japan, I was expecting someone to say something like, God bless you or bless you. And I've never heard it. Who's going to say? Japanese, they don't have it in their culture. They don't have any belief about their culture being related to this kind of stuff. So that's why I miss it a lot. It's part of my homesick in some meaning. Because in my country, sometimes even though people don't know you, you sneeze, they will tell you, God bless you or bless you. And another thing I quite miss a lot, and I think this is a cultural difference, is giving a seat. Like in Japan, when you are in a public transport, you will see a special seat for old people and for the pregnant people and for the sick like people with some kind of sickness or handicap. Um, in my country, we don't have it. We don't have a special seat because all of the seats are meant for those kind of people. So it means when you put your feet into the public transport, people will most times out of 100, 95 times give you a seat. If you are pregnant, for sure. If you are old, for sure. If you have some kind of handicap and if it is visible, for sure. Sometimes you can even ask for a seat and they will give it to you. So in Japan, most time I haven't seen it. That's why the Japanese public transports, they have a special seat with a different color. So, and then there's a picture of signs showing this seat is for kind of special people. So when I see it first time, I was thinking, oh, that's so nice. That's really about thinking about the people. But in the Japanese case, I was also kind of thinking that, so it means people aren't considering other people in the public transport. That's why the public transport owner or the public transport companies, organizations, are giving a special seat for the kind of special people. So they do think that other people won't give them seat. So that was the interesting part that I thought. Sometimes I give seat to Japanese old people. Sometimes they sit, sometimes they don't. I hope I don't offend them. But this is the culture that I get used in my country. So that's why, to me, it was kind of different experience in Japan, especially when I use the public transport. Another thing is about the cultural difference. I think it's about the food and eating, food manners. Like I don't know about other countries. In my country, when you eat, you don't make any sound. You don't make your mouth sound, and it's thought as a bad manner. So if you are slurping or you are making some sound when you're chewing, in my country, that's a bad manner. We avoid it and we try to eat mouth closed. And when you're eating the soup, it's kind of drinking that liquid. So you do it slowly and you don't make any sound. And I have been back to my country after coming to Japan 2 times. And each time when I eat with my family, I find out that they are staring at me because I'm kind of slurping Japanese way the soup. So it takes me some time kind of have adjusted back to my country, my kind of eating habit. So in Japan, it's quite usual. They don't do it in every food. Mainly it's about the ramen soup and or udon. But other foods, they don't do it. But in my country, even you don't do that with the soup. So that's why it's kind of different experience. Actually, these kind of different experiences with the cultural difference, there are so many of them that I don't have enough time maybe to count them. But it's interesting that even though you live here in Japan for a long time, in my case, I still miss it. So that was another kind of point that I wanted to talk. So most times, what I think it's better to do is try to adjust to Japanese people here in Japan. And when you go back, just switch it back. I know it's hard sometimes, it takes time. I had kind of weird stories going back in my country when I went back and tried to do like, Japanese say no and they do this hand gesture. In my country, you don't do it. And when you start doing this kind of stuff, they think something smells bad. That's why you're doing it. So that was kind of weird, especially with family members when I talk with them. So that's my interesting kind of case that happens to me when I become more Japanized. Another thing is I wanted to talk about is language misunderstanding. Many foreigners, they don't understand the Japanese language, right? So then you start learning some phrases and some words. And if you're really into the learning language, you start learning more and more. The problem most time is when we are learning a new language, we are translating the same thing in our head from our own language to another language and then trying to say it. And we think it's a correct way. Most time, maybe, but sometimes it causes some problems. People don't understand what you want to say. I will give one example, kind of quite interesting from my viewpoint. I had a friend from Central Asia, and he had a supporter. And supporter is a Japanese guy, and they are talking in English. So one day, my friend, he wants to go to the ward office, and he asked his supporter, "Can we go this day?" And Japanese says, "I will think about it." And when the day comes, my friend asked Japanese supporter, "Okay, so do we go today?" And he said, "I said no. Why, you don't want to understand?" And he said, "No, you didn't. You said, I will think about it." And Japanese kind of started getting kind of angry that you are being two-way rude, trying to push me to do something that I don't want to do. And they end up having some kind of misunderstanding. At the beginning, it looks quite kind of weird, because if someone says, "I will think about it," and then they say that you are being kind of too much pushy in trying to make them to do something, I started figuring out why it happened. Because Japanese never say no directly. So it means they will try to make a way to make you to understand it. And in Japanese language, when you say kangaemasu, which means I will think about it, it means no, but in a really, really, really polite way. So Japanese supporter, when he said I will think about it, actually he meant no. And this is kind of language misunderstanding and cultural misunderstanding at the same time, actually, because my friend didn't know that Japanese aren't that much indirect. So he was thinking he would just say, "I don't have time," at least like that. But in this case, it was just about, "I will think about it." So my friend ended up going to the ward office by himself, because the Japanese supporter couldn't go with him, because he said no, he doesn't have time in a Japanese polite way, and my friend didn't understand it because the Japanese supporter in his head translated something in Japanese into English and said it directly like that, and other side didn't understand it. So this kind of misunderstanding happens a lot, especially if you think you know the language. In this case, a Japanese guy thought he knows the language, and he translated literally the same thing from Japanese to English. But actually, it happened with me as well. I know Japanese, so it helps me a lot to find the Japanese friends, to talk with Japanese people, and then try to understand the culture. But sometimes I also end up doing some kind of mistake. I translate something in my own language and then speak in Japanese, or sometimes it's not even trying to translating something. It's just the way I think, and I directly say it in Japanese, and I find out that people kind of either don't understand it, or I understand it wrongly, and they try to correct me. So when you are trying to learn the language, please try to also try and understand the meaning at the back of it. Don't try to translate everything in your head to another language like it is. Probably there will be some misunderstanding. So better try to understand how the Japanese people use the words and then try to imitate them, at least for a while. And after a while, it will become your natural way of communication and talking with Japanese people. Especially if you are learning Japanese language, being as a foreigner, try to ask as many questions as possible about the language. Actually, I'm going to talk about asking questions as well. I think it's quite interesting point about the Japanese culture and education in general. But about the language part, if you have learned something, try to understand what are the meanings that this thing can have. Like when I find out that when I learned that Japanese, onegaishimasu means please, but after coming to Japan, I find out that you can use onegaishimasu, which means please, in a different ways for different meanings. So you can ask for permission as onegaishimasu, or you can ask something to do by onegaishimasu. So there's so many ways of using onegaishimasu just like that. Or sumimasen, even sometimes you can use it for saying sorry. Sometimes you can use it for saying kind of hello in a casual way or polite way. So there are different ways of using some Japanese words because they are kind of quite changing the meaning from case to case. And another thing is actually it's about the education and culture at the same time. And I encountered it with my daughter's school and homework. Japanese education system from the kindergarten is quite interesting. They are teaching the kids how to play, how to use different kind of tools, how to make things like from the cardboards, from the papers, and from the clay and those kind of stuff. It's quite interesting from my viewpoint because it teaches the kid to be creative. But when it comes to the school, it's kind of flipping the other side. School is a place where you get more and more stuff, and you're kind of consuming the information and knowledge. But there is no that much output. It's mainly input. And it means the student is not producing anything. From my viewpoint, student producing something is, if you're getting that much input, you should have some kind of output. And in my case, it's a questioning and asking questions and trying to learn. So it's not only you are getting, but you're also giving back. So in Japanese education from the elementary school, asking question isn't that much encouraged. Mainly it's about you learn and learn and learn and learn. So it takes time until you learn. And after a while, I think the kids just lose the interest asking question, interest in asking any question to the teacher. Actually, I think asking question is quite important part of education, because if you're asking question, it means you're interested in the topic. If you're asking question, it means not everything is clear. If you're asking question, it means you want to dig deeper to find more something new. And in Japanese education system, what I have seen, students most time they don't ask questions, especially in the elementary school. They are not encouraged to ask a lot of questions. And at the university, when you see the Japanese students, I don't see them asking questions to the teachers. They just consume the information, consume the knowledge, and they are done. They just do homework. And I thought it's kind of making the Japanese kids handicapped, because if you're not asking question, it means you don't learn anything extra. In my country, the expectation from a kid most time is he is asking tough questions to the teacher. He's making teacher to work hard, to work extra. So if you have a good student, it means the good student is asking you a lot of questions, trying to learn. He's interested in the topic. And I don't see in Japanese education system here. That was quite interesting to me, because Japan is one of the countries that has a lot of patents. And patents means discovering something, making something. So then in order to discover something, you have to ask questions, dig deeper, and get something. So it was like, how did it come? And I would say asking question, it's not just about the education, but it's also about the communication part. I find out that most time when you talk with Japanese people, the conversation is quite shallow. You don't go deeper. I mean, depths of the information, depths of the knowledge, and depths of the conversation in general. Like, you can say I like sushi, and he can say I like sushi, and that's end. And maybe they don't ask, why do you like sushi? What's special about it? Most time the topic doesn't go further than that. So from my experience, when you're talking with people, when you're asking them a question, you're kind of getting closer to them. You are digging more information from them, and when they give it to you, you become a bit more closer. Let's say you are sharing some of your memories, and it's already kind of personal, right? So it makes you close to the person that you have shared, that you're sharing it with. In Japanese case, there's not that kind of share of information, share of something about you. So that's why you don't have a kind of deep bonds between you and Japanese people. And Tatemaya even making it even worse. So even if you are asking question and you are getting the information, it's more about what the person wants to show you, not the real stuff that's happening at the back or happened at the back. So I thought that this is something that doesn't let in general Japanese people have a more close relationship with foreigners. They are shy asking question, and foreigners think it's not polite, it's rude to ask any personal question to Japanese people. So you end up having really shallow communication. And most times, I have find it kind of ridiculous that you end up talking about the food maybe, and maybe some really light stuff, and you never get close and share something more important, I think. So today I'm alone. I have just these topics that I wanted to share with you.